I have Fiona's question, which was about the selection tool. And maybe I should have used her little kitty cat image. I don't think I downloaded it. Sorry. But I'll just use that both again. I did link to 4 classes where we were talking about the selections. So we are familiar with the selection tool, which can select, you know, a rectangle or a circle. We're familiar with that. Then we have the freehand selection tool. Again, we know this one. So if I want to select around the person, I have here, we tend to call it the lasso tool. So I can do point to point. I can do freehand, which would be a little smoother, but I find sometimes less precise. And we have the smart edge and edge seeker. And let's see, we have edge seeker. Let's go, and we try to get this like point to point, but by doing the point to point, it's going to look for an edge. It's not always perfect, and ideally you want to be zooming in. And you know, if you go over, it might or it might not try to get the best. So this one is not the best. You can do with the smart edge. Let's see how smarter it is. So if I go, oh yeah, I'll get close to the edge. It will try to snap, but it only works well if you have a good contrast. So like here for the hat, it's not so bad. The hand, the arm, but as I'm going to get closer to the purple, you know, the turquoise, it does seem to be doing a good enough job in this case. And I guess I'll go on the other side. So as long as you get the edge within that little rectangle, it might do a good enough job. That was actually pretty good. Again, it will depend on your image if you have contrast. I remember that in the forum you had a picture of a cat with hair. So the hair is really hard to extract. That's probably a nightmare for any program to use. But these are the selection tool with the freehand selection. The magic wand, we are all familiar. So we select based on the match mode, which are similar to what we had for the fill tool. I liked to use RGB typically, or opacity, depending on what I'm selecting. Now the Smart Selection brush is kind of interesting, and that was only added a few versions ago. And what it does is it will select a little bit like the magic wand, but as you brush, it will seek similar pixels. So see, I brushed only on the top of the hat and it got the hair. Now if I want to add the sweater, I'll hold the shift key and I can add a little bit more here. And we have the tolerance, that is a setting that you can add. So sometimes you want to have more or less of the same color, depending again on your image. So you just brush. I'm brushing the sweater. You can see I did not take the hand. Now I'll select the oar. I'm just going to select the hand. But you can see it's not perfect. So it will still require some tweaking, but sometimes it's a good start. And if you have a picture that has very good contrast, so maybe it's already isolated or very easy to find the edges, that could be a good way. Now the auto selection, well, it's not that auto. So if I was to use this, the auto selection for this picture, let's see what I'll get. You see, I got the boat okay, the hand okay, the hat okay, but then it got the trees and some of the water. Not the best. But again, it's a start. And then you can combine and change the tool. Let's say now to the Smart Selection brush. Holding the Control key, you'll remove, and you can remove by brushing the trees. And it's removing some there. Or I can now brush where the water is. So my screen is lagging a little bit. And I was able to remove here. Maybe I'll remove the shoreline. Okay, but you can see there are still some leftover pixels or leftover areas. So I can still brush there and remove those. And I still forgot one. I missed one here. Another there. So it's kind of a good start, but it does need refining for sure. And the auto selection, I should say, is good if you have good identifiable edges. So if I have, where did I put it? Oh, not this one. For example, if I try to select that tree with that auto selection, it does a good job. If I want to get maybe the Santa, it's doing a good job of ignoring what's not selected or what is not in focus, kind of. Notice here I have a little bit of the cup on top and it still selects here. But again, it's not the perfect tool. It's just a starting point. Hey there! I hope you found this information helpful. If you're curious to dive deeper and explore more about PaintShop Pro, we've got a wealth of resources waiting for you in our membership area. There, you'll find in-depth classes, workshops, Q&A sessions, and much more to help you enhance your PaintShop Pro and digital scrapbooking skills. Feel free to check it out. The link is in the video description below. Thanks for watching and see you in the campus!